Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Shaping St. Bernard. I'm your host, Karen Boudry. On this edition, we are going to talk trash, literally. How are we doing as a community to tackle and prevent what seems to be a growing litter problem in the parish? Joining me now is Chief Administrative Officer Ronnie Alonso with St. Bernard Parish Government. And I know, Ronnie, thanks for being here, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
I know that it was a priority of this administration to get in and actually set up a litter abatement division because it didn't exist before. Tell us a little bit about that to start off.
I think that goes along with what we tried to do as quality of life. Quality of life was one of our main goals coming into office. So a litter abatement division was something that we knew that we wanted to put in place because we wanted to attack the litter problems that were in St. Bernard Parish 6 years ago. Our problems are different today. Our problems are different because we have a growing community.
I was just going to say, yeah. You know.
So when you look at it, you want people to come, but there are different issues that happen when you start getting more people. Your infrastructure gets taxed, as well as you start to have litter problems and things like that. So that's some of the things we're looking to address as we continue to grow here in St. Bernard.
And I know there are a lot of different facets of it. It's not just neighborhood litter. It's not just illegal dumping. It's not just businesses. It's really all of these things. Is there one particular issue, I would say, or arm of this that is the most difficult that you all are trying to tackle?
Well, I think just the everyday litter that we see on the street, right? That's what people see.
Right.
And that's that affects quality of life. And you say, well, how does that affect quality of life? It affects property values. It affects the amount of money that we have to spend putting people on streets to clean up where they could be doing other things. So that's where the quality of life issues come in. We also, we look at other issues with the litter. We look at on our bayous. We have a lot of people that come from out of town that fish. They come down to see the scenic byways. Well, they want to see scenic byways. They don't want to see trash. They don't want to see things flying out of people's boats. And that's an issue we have on the eastern end of St. Bernard Parish. A lot of boats get picked up. A lot of people come from out of town. They get in their boats and they leave. They go fishing. They throw bottles and bags in their boats, and then on the way up, it flies out. And then we're left to pick it up. So it's really a team effort. With the litter abatement, it's
What does that do? So we have the enforcement of the constables and the justice of the peace, and we'll get into the specifics with those folks a little bit later with Beau Bowman. But as far as parish administration, what does the division actually do?
Well, we started back in, I guess, around 2017, 2018, just a specific group, and the money's paid through sanitation, through sales taxes and ad valorem, and that helps us, and that does everything from pick up our trash, our garbage, to picking up litter on the side of the streets. And what we wanted to do is carve out a section that really just addressed the litter, everyday litter, and the that we see on the sides of the streets that people are throwing away. And our goal was basically to, if we see it, to pick it up. And it comes from the old adage, if you see graffiti and you don't want it on the wall, take it off, because if you leave it there, it's okay. People think it's okay to keep writing. And the same thing with litter. If you pick it up and people don't see litter, they're a lot less likely to throw it on the street. If you leave it there, then it becomes what's just another piece. And I think a lot of people from St. Bernard understand what I'm talking about when I say that, because there's a bridge right not too far away. And when you cross that bridge and you get to the other side, and there's trash everywhere. And I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. And our goal is to, if you keep it clean, people are less likely to throw it. So
this is also an economic development. We talked about quality of life, and quality of life is, part of economic development. When businesses and anybody's thinking about moving here and coming here, and as we grow and develop, and you might say, well, why don't we have this business here? Why don't we have this? Things that we want. Well, they take a look at this kind of stuff.
Right. They just look like they look at
before deciding to come here or not.
Exactly. Right? What's the neighborhoods look like? What am I bringing my business to? I don't want to go to a dump, obviously. I want to go to a place that takes pride and keeps up what they're doing. Another part of litter, when we were about to talk about it a minute ago, was people blowing in the street, clippings in the street. It's important. We have to go clean drains. The more people throw into the drain, the more often we have to clean, and the more problems we have with drainage. If people take not only pride in picking up trash, we need to take pride in picking up our clippings and don't blow them into the drains. It's easy because it's a hole, but then we have drainage problems. And everybody knows that infrastructure problems probably our main issue right here in St. Bernard Parish, as is many older communities. So we need to make sure that, we're not putting that stuff down our drains.
And I guess, as citizens, that's something that we really need to be cognizant of and say something, that there are so many folks that make their living cutting grass around and they've been used to doing that. Is it up to us to go say to them, no, let me give you a bag, or do we sit those guys to, because that's huge.
Well, I think there's individual responsibility. That's number one, right? But you do have a lot of people that are doing that. And I know we've talked to our inspectors who are out in the streets every day, and they go out and they'll tell people, hey, don't do that. We have constables and justice of the peace who are out there enforcing it, and they're the enforcement arm along with the sheriff's department. There's laws in place that our council puts in place that are there to be enforced by those guys, and they'll get out there. If you see somebody doing that, call your constable, call your justice of the peace, or call the sheriff's office. If you see people, and look, everybody has a phone, right? Everybody has a phone these days, because what they want to say is, hey, he's not doing it anymore, he's not here, he went in, we can't do anything about it. Well, take a picture of it, and sometimes it's not about getting somebody in trouble, but it's about putting somebody on notice and say, we're not going to let our parish get dirty, let's clean it up.
Good point. And I know there are people that, I don't want to get involved, but at some point, we all got to step up here or this isn't going to get any better, right?
Right, we want a better community, we have to be involved. It's easy to rely on a government, it's easy to rely on somebody else, but if we take personal interest in it.
How much do we spend on this?
Millions. I mean, most people don't know we have a dedicated sanitation budget for trash collection, and we do that with with the homes, and as well as we pay dumping at River Bridge like all communities. But we spend millions outside of that picking up trash, disposing of trash. There's disposal fees. When we pick up trash on the side of the highways, we have to throw that away. It has to go to the landfill. We have to pay tipping fees at a landfill. We have to employ more people to pick up on side the road. There are people that call every day and say, hey, there's litter here, there's litter there. But in order to get that up and keep it up, we spent a lot more money. And like I said before, it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? So people are paying more taxes, we're getting more people, we're getting money to do that. But on the other hand, it would be nice to take that money and put it somewhere else and not into having to pick up litter.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much we could do with that money. Beautiful, more parks, things that you could, things that you want for your parish.
It's not only that, it's equipment. We've bought new equipment. We have a lot of roadways where we don't have businesses, a lot of rural area down in eastern St. Bernard. So it's hard to pick that up every day. So if it gets thrown out, you don't see as much in certain areas where you see plenty of businesses, because there's business owners who take pride. And they get out there and they clean it up. But when you hit fields and open land, you start to see paper. And, we have people on the streets every day picking up trash, but it makes it a lot easier if people pick up after themselves.
I'm a big proponent of changing mindsets on this, because it really, it's such a cyclical thing. It just will keep happening unless you get in there and stop it. How do you see your role in changing people's minds about how they view their parish and personal responsibility?
Well, I just think we're a small part in government. We're the guys that have to clean it up. We don't know about changing minds. I think the only way we could change minds is when, we talk to our employees. If there's a piece of paper on the ground, don't walk over it. We got to pick it up anyway. Pick it up when you see it.
Leading by example.
Lead by example. Get out there, pick that paper up. And then we ask the citizens to do the same. Pick it up, don't walk over it, And if you can do that, then I think every little bit helps. Don't think picking up one piece is not going to help us. Or, hey, don't blow that in that drain. It's just one drain, let me fill this drain up. Every person counts. Every little piece that we pick up counts.
Good point. Thanks so much. And Ronnie, thank you so much for being here. And as he mentioned, talking about citizens doing their part, there's a group of people that got together recently and said, we are going to do our part, and even if it takes all day, all week, take a look at some folks who got together and decided to make a difference.
So we're down in Shell Beach doing the bayou cleanup. About a month ago, we had some citizens come to us, led by Captain Jimmy Corley, to get a group of people together and ask for our help to organize cleanup down here in Shell Beach. All this hurricane debris and debris that comes out of boats, just end up on our banks and in our waterways. And we're trying to get tourists down here, we're trying to get people down here to experience our amazing fishing and our great estuaries, and we want to put our best foot forward. We want to make sure that they have a great experience and see the beauty that we have down here and not, the trash that sometimes comes with it.
Well, we're doing a parish cleanup. I'm a charter captain down here in Shell Beach, and me and Kerry Colley got everybody involved, put together. We're working on getting the bayou cleaned up. As you can see, a lot of trash on the bayous, crab trash, bottles. Our parish come together, we had a strong community come together and we got it done. So even though it's cold, we had a good strong turnout though, so it was good.
We've worked up and down the canal right here by Campos Marina. A lot of drink containers, sandwich boxes, a lot of things that are in your boat when you're out on a fishing trip or shrimping or crabbing or commercial fishermen or recreational guys. We all need to make sure that you're securing those items so that they're not flying out of the boat. That's most of what we're seeing out here today. And some of it's just hurricane debris as well, stuff that has blown in from the several storms we've had this year. But we had a great crew working out here today, and it looks so much better already. We had a little bit more work to do, but it's going great, and it's been a great community effort, and we're really excited to see it.
First, I'd like to start off thanking everybody that's participating in the cleanup. It's a big effort on trying to clean up our bayous and our waterways. After Hurricane Zeta came through, she put a lot of metal roofs and wood net from structures along the bayou. So, Jimmy Corley came to us and he wanted to put something together. Kudos to him. It's a good program. I think we should do this more often, like once a year, and continue to keep our waterways clean.
We're really excited to have this, led by citizens that, came to us and asked to do this, and we're happy to help. So we brought down some crews, the Sheriff's Department, the Coastal Department brought barges down here, and we're just, helping these citizens come down the bayou and make it, a better place and a more beautiful place for locals and visitors to come and see.
All right, we are back on Shaping St. Bernard, and we are now joined by Councilman Josh Moran. Thank you so much for being here. You have 2 new initiatives to talk with us about today, and I'm pretty excited to hear about these. These are ordinances that you're putting forward as a council, correct?
Yes.
What's the one that you think is going to have the biggest impact?
Well, I think that with both of them, they both stressed one main thing is we're looking to provide more services for our parish. And a lot of times with the 2 ordinances that we are bringing forward right now is they're geared towards litter. So one is excessive litter, and then another one is evictions. So when an eviction is served, the landlord actually leaves their trash on the side of the curb, and parish government is responsible right now for picking up the trash at a detriment for the budget for our parish residents. So what we're looking to do is have the actual landlords be responsible for their own property. So when they serve an eviction, they now are going to be responsible for getting rid of any trash that is left over after the eviction. If not, then they're going to be fined by parish government and then have to pick it up anyway, or we're going to pick it up and then fine them a certain amount of money.
Interesting. So a lot of times we're talking furniture, we're talking huge quantities of stuff that people, when they're evicted, basically a lot of their belongings, everything they had in there is sitting on the curb.
Right. Exactly. And we look at it as a council as an opportunity to provide more services, right? We, as a landlord, as a residential rental facility, you're actually a business is the way I interpreted it. As a business, if it was any other business, it would be an expense that's added into their budget yearly. Mm-hmm. And right now they're dependent on parish government to subsidize their actual business. And we would like that to be done by them so that we could use in turn, instead of having trash trucks have to go pick this trash out from certain complexes have a lot more trash and it's a lot more frequent. So we would like that to be done by them, so in turn we can use that money and spend it on more services for our residents, which it's what it's meant for, not for the businesses.
Right, I think you'll find coming up, that's one of the things that Guy McGinnis is stressing, right on point with you, that we're spending so much money on this litter problem in the parish that we could be putting to other things.
Right, yeah.
And so it's a really good point. Now, what about the excessive litter? Are we talking about people who continue to dump in lots or businesses, or
right.
A guy driving down the street, it's that car every day that
right,
throws
no.
his cup out.
So
what do you mean?
Excessive litter is almost kind of in the same nature as the eviction ordinance, right? So if you have one property owner that is continually just not using their dumpster properly, right? So 2, 3 buildings at 1 or 4 complex that, you know, excessively has trash, and they don't want to get a bigger dumpster or dump more frequently, and they're constantly having things piled up that parish government's going to have to pick up.
And it's flying everywhere.
It's just flying everywhere.
right?
We're constantly getting the calls, the constables or the JPs, and, you know, we want to make sure that our residents, you know, the parishes looks perfect for them, right? I know that's not really something we could do and have it perfect, but we're going to do the best of our ability to make sure we're keeping up with it. And this is one thing that we could do as a council, is make sure that we're holding our landowners and, you know, really all of our businesses accountable. But really it's, you know, the bigger complexes that don't, you know, they don't have a plan for when you have an eviction or when you have excessive trash that comes in. They just set on a, you know, a trash schedule with a distributor that comes in and picks up their dumpster, and then, you know, it never changes, right? And we want to effectively have them be proactive to maintain their problem.
You know, there's only so much we can legislate, right? I mean, you know, you can put a ton of laws on the books, but enforcement's always an issue, and just, you know, people ignoring them. It seems to me that it's got to be a whole mindset change for the parish and people in general. How do you do that?
Right, and you know, I think that's more of education and things that we are going to start to do. We're trying to add a community cleanup day. I'd like to see it done at least, you know, maybe every 3 months, have volunteers, some of our nonprofit organizations get involved, parish government departments, you know, select one day. Maybe they pick up a certain area and, you know, have some money donated from bigger organizations to fund it. But it's something that we would like to do. We'd like to see the parish, you know, grow as we are right now. But with the influx of new residents coming in, we really have to, you know, be mindful of the problems we have and, you know, the direction, what we want it to look like in the future, and how fast are we growing, and can we sustain this, what we have right now. And I think we need to really, you know, people look at litter as just trash on the ground, right? But it's really a standard of living. If we have our standards grow, that we believe that we deserve something better, then I think our residents will too.
What about code enforcement, kind of hand in hand in there? When some of us look at litter, we look at someone's lot maybe down the street that is just, to us it looks like littered junk.
Right.
To them it's their prized possessions, but it's not fenced in, it's not, it's sitting there as an eyesore. What,
so,
as a council, you all looking to do about
so
that?
that's that actually comes into 2 different fractions, right? So when you talk about litter, when you talk about small things on the ground or excessive litter, that is more of an enforcement agency that the constables and JPs really handle, right? So, you know, we have Beau coming up in a minute that'll actually discuss how that works. But, you know, parish government is not really an enforcement agency, but you know, in turn, the only thing that they really do when it comes to something like this is they'll go out and cite them for larger issues, like you say, you know, standing things on the property that are consistently staying. They'll take them, you know, through the court process. But, you know, the councilmen don't get involved with that. They just legislate the actual law, and then administration and the constables will actually take care of it.
But do we have laws on the books that are addressing that right now, or that's not something that you think we need to change?
No, I think, we have the laws on the books, and, you know, a lot of times when we talk to residents, they get frustrated because of how slow the process goes.
Yeah.
But, you know, whether you're doing the wrong thing or you're doing the right thing, you have to give everyone due process. They have to have their time to go through the process, through the legal system. So it takes a little bit longer, but there are all laws on the book. So if you're having an issue with, you know, things on properties that just look like they're nuisances, please call government, you know, call our complaints department, and we'll definitely, you know, look into it for you.
Okay, Josh, you talked about the cleanup days, and it would be great to get that going and get like whole streets together and various groups, churches, whoever, businesses, everybody. So what's the vehicle for doing that? How can we help you start this process?
You know, I think, you know, it comes down to how our environment changed, right? The dynamics of St. Bernard changed since Katrina.
Sure.
And now we're, you know, coming back to this point when we have a huge amount of residents that are coming back to the parish. And what I think that's going to do is we're going to have more community organizations, you know, homeowners associations. If we could have certain areas and neighborhoods develop their own plans, right? If they can figure out, look, you know, even if it's a HOA fee and you in turn is going to or have a business pick it up for you. I think it's something that we need to look into, how to keep our environment cleaner, and not just for the looks, but I think it's going to protect us long term as far as, you know, people do not want to move here if it's not a nice
If it
place
looks
to
like
live.
a trashy place to
exactly.
live, right?
So we
right.
need to be proactive on how to do that. I would definitely like to see more homeowner associations, or maybe just community organizations, like neighborhood groups, right, that meet once a month and have a plan for what their neighborhood should look like, right? It'll help in all sorts of things, from crime to litter to just how they'd like to see that area grow.
So if a particular group or a street or just Joe citizen out there really wants to get involved in this, pick up the phone and call your office?
Right.
What's the best way to?
Yeah, so you pick up the phone, call the council office, leave a message for me, or whoever the council member is in your area. I know most of the council members really want to see this succeed and want to do a better job at keeping our parish clean. So I don't think you'll have any trouble getting any kind of organization started. We'll help you with any way we can. If we can help you get into the right connections that'll kind of fund it if we can, or set it up if it's going to be a legal system.
Josh Moran, thank you so much for being here today and for your efforts that you're putting forth on behalf of the council and with the council.
Right. Thank you for having me today. Hopefully this will enlighten the community and really educate them on what we're trying to do.
All right, absolutely. And we've got more enlightenment coming up. Justice of the Peace Beau Bowman coming up next. Stay with us.
St. Bernard Parish is our home. It's where we raise our children. It's where our children go to school. It's where we play in the ballparks. We cannot trash our future here in St. Bernard Parish. Litter is a major problem for us. We don't like to say that much because it's a negative thing, but it could be such a positive thing for us if we would just pick up the trash in our streets, by our homes, in our parks, and in our bayou ways. We have such a promising future. We're coming back strong, and there's so many things that we have to spend our resources on. The resources that we expend on litter in St. Bernard Parish is something that we need to stop. So please, do not trash St. Bernard's future.
All right, we are back, and we are now joined by Justice of the Peace, Ward C. Beau Bowman. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Litter seems to be a big pet peeve of yours. This is the second time I've heard you speak about it recently.
Yes.
And so I know that you're really working hard on a number of initiatives. Let me just first of all ask you, Beau, what do you think the biggest problem is in our parish with regard to litter? Is it the littering itself? Is it the enforcement? Is it the ordinance? Is it people? Is there one thing?
We have a structure set up. So the Louisiana Code of Civil Procedures sets the enforcement arm of littering statutes in the state of Louisiana concurrent with the Justice of the Peace and the Constable Office. So the constable is the officer who will go out and investigate a littering violation. They would then be issued a court mandate to appear in court, and of course they would have to appear before litter court. That's not an issue. We've got the structure to do so. And the council, along with our parish president, have done a fantastic job of laying out an agenda legislatively that gets us to the right amount of codes and enforcement that we need. So now it comes upon the citizens to make a decision to say, I am going to report and I will fill out an affidavit, and we can hold litterers accountable inside of the system that we have now. So I would say our biggest hurdle right now is educating the public on how to report an incident and then following the system through, following it all the way through.
Well, let's start with that. Let's
Okay.
follow the steps through and make it simple for everybody. So I'm driving down the street and I see a guy in front of me, and we're going to talk about the bigger issues as well, but
Roger
just
that.
something simple like I see the car in front of me, throw out a bag of Wendy's.
Okay.
He's finished, okay, and it's on the ground, and it's terrible. And obviously, the traffic is moving. I can't stop the guy and say, hey, pick up this litter. So I get his license plate. So that's my first thing that I need to do, correct?
Exactly.
And then what do I do with that once I get that
Well,
license plate?
what you're going to do is you're going to contact your constable for that particular ward. And what that's going to do then is they will come out and take a report. They will take the information, they do an intake on the information that you gave them, and you're going to sign an affidavit. I saw X person throw out items, and then the license plate number was this. And then what that does is that allows the constable to do their investigation on locating who that person is through the license plate, okay? And then issuing a summons for them to appear in litter court, which is, in this case, JP court.
So if that person doesn't show up, what happens? Let's just say he goes, oh my gosh, you know, it's a litter citation. I'm not showing up to that.
Can be held accountable for that. So there are various levels, all the way up to mandated public cleanup service, multiple, in the incidents of gross littering, up to a $500 fine. And then there's criminal jurisdiction if they continue to do so and don't change their behaviors.
Gotcha. So let's say I do go to court and I'm doing my civic duty and I show up before you and I say, yes, sir, I saw this man litter on this date and whatever. And he says, I didn't do that. I mean, it's he said, she said at that point.
It's
sort of, right?
Sort of, but it's like any case. What is the evidence? What is the evidence?
And who's
tell
more
us?
believable?
And who, yeah. So what you're going to do is, and I tell a lot of folks, I said, picture in your mind, they'll come to JP court. In JP court can be small claims. It could be evictions like Josh talked about. There's many things you could be in JP court about. And in this case, we'll look at the evidence and let's say, think of it like a football game. If your evidence gets you 45 yards and the other guy's evidence gets him 55 yards, well, obviously, I'm going to go based upon the preponderance of evidence. So if I have a statement from you, you're showing me that there's the Wendy's bag, okay, and actually, the constable could go maybe confirm if there's a receipt in the bag. Hey, this happened at 9:45. They'll do their due investigation.
All right.
They'll do their due investigation. The constables will, and then put that evidence before the court. And in that case, the constable is the prosecutor for that case. Okay.
Gotcha.
So they would prosecute that case, and that information and evidence would be presented in litter court.
Okay, so they work hand in hand, the constable and the JP in this case. So people out there might be watching and going, well, that's a whole lot of rigmarole for a bag of Wendy's. So, I mean, are we really going to tackle the litter problem by, one little car at a time? I mean, to look at the bigger picture, that may seem like such a minute thing to deal with.
If we don't change behaviors, even at the smallest level, okay? The old saying is, if I can't trust you with $1, how do I trust you with $1,000?
Gotcha.
So, it's that deal where we have to hold a standard as a community and say, hey, look, we want a cleaner, nicer community where all the citizens can enjoy themselves, and I don't want to go to the park and see stuff all over the ground and all of it. And it's not only that. You get into, much like Josh was talking about, we get into businesses who don't, I've had cases before me where businesses don't close their dumpster. And now all of a sudden we've got lots and lots of trash in a waterway, which is another.
Oh, it's another issue.
Which is another issue. So we're going to get into environmental quality issues. We're going to get into Department of Wildlife issues and all
the ability to
that.
drain when there's a storm and
Absolutely.
whole myriad
And that's a hot button right now in St.
Right.
Bernard Parish is about draining, and and if you're disposing of gross amounts of material that's clogging up our system, and if you've ever seen the video on what's in the drainage pumps, it doesn't allow the drainage pumps to drain. It's Coke cups and all kinds of mess. So the further we go on correcting behaviors and cleaning up our parish benefits us in multiple ways like that.
Right.
Yes.
So as far as dumping in canals or dumping on vacant lots or dumping on your neighbor's lot or wherever the case may be, do we have to witness that in order to get, obviously we have to see who's doing it in order to get them before you. Is there any other way we can tackle that other than if you don't see who's doing it, it's a problem?
Yes, and we would like that reported to us so that we can take a look into that. Obviously, if we don't have firsthand information on who that individual is, but what we find is if they find a place to dump once, they'll
Gonna come
dump
back.
twice, they'll dump 3 times, and we catch them in the act then. And that's what we're trying to do is
Gotcha.
is develop the knowledge of where it's being done at inside of the parish, and then get a profile on that and see if we can investigate that, and then get that person into court so that we can make sure that this behavior stops.
Yeah. So, one of the problems, and you had mentioned, alluded to, was trying to figure out, okay, what ward are you in,
Yeah.
and who do I call, and how do we start this process? Does you call the ward where you live, or the ward where this happened?
You can call
Either
the
one.
ward that it happened in.
And how are we going to figure that one out?
Okay.
I
all
think
right.
you've got a plan for that,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I know that it's confusing because we got 11 JPs and 11 constables in St. Bernard Parish. So what I did is we went out and we created a website. It's www.sbsambravojulietpapa.org, sbjp.org. On the last page of that, where it says community officers, it gives a full list of every JP and every constable and their phone number and what ward that they're in. So what we're trying to do is simplify the process, provide more service, and make it a lot easier for
Absolutely.
our citizens to be able to do their civic duty and take pride in our community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much for all. You've got a lot of irons in the fire. We've got to thank you so much for tackling this, because it's a big issue and it's important. And as St. Bernard Parish President Guy McInnes mentioned earlier, there is personal responsibility here. And he said, don't trash St. Bernard's future. Just well said. So that's it for this edition of Shaping St. Bernard. I'm your host, Karen Boudry. We'll see you next time.